watching Maine Biz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
2008 was a record-setting year for Maine exports. Here to explain why and to help us understand how Maine businesses approach those export markets are Janine Carey, president of the Maine International Trade Center, Peter Anania, president of Anania Associates and CEO of Correct Deck Building Products in Biddeford, and Jeff Holden, president of Portland Shellfish in Portland. Thanks for coming. I'm glad you could be here. Let me start out. I just wanted to start out with the, I'll put up a graphic that shows kind of the press release that the Maine International Trade Center put out in February that really lays out what happened. Here's how it reads. Led by exports of passenger vehicles and pulp and paper, Maine exports in 2008 increased to a record $3 billion, the most in the state's history. Maine's exports grew by 9.5% from 2007 to 2008, with Canada continuing to be the state's leading export market. The semiconductor industry remained Maine's largest exporter, with $847 million sold overseas in 2008. So tell me why. What was behind all that in a record-setting year? Janine.
I think that a few things were going on. Certainly at the beginning part of 2008, we had a weak dollar, which made it definitely more attractive for U.S. exports and Maine exports specifically. I think that was driving quite a bit of the pulp and paper industry, paper specifically, that had a 20% growth rate, and a lot of our commodities. Secondly, we had some growth in, I'd say, diverse areas, metal products, vehicles, actually even food and agricultural products had really good growth last year. So the good part of that story is that we opened up some new markets in the Middle East, some new markets in Asia, and that once we're on a steady path, I think we have some good growth coming.
I understand about the dollar impact, obviously,
sure.
But were there any other surprises in that, in new products that were being exported more than you thought, and why? Anything that surprised you?
I think that we see a lot of things at the Trade Center before they show up in terms of statistics, and we started seeing a lot more activity in the Middle East. We started seeing a lot more activity in Brazil and parts of South America, and certainly in Korea, which is a huge pulp and paper market.
So let's talk, Peter and Jeff. First, tell us how important exports are to your business, and was 2008 a good year for you, too? Let's start with you, Peter.
Well, 2008 was down a little bit for us in exports because of the dollar rising at the end.
Okay.
But exports are very important to Correct Building Products.
What percent do you think of your total?
We're roughly probably 12 to 15%
really?
In exports.
Okay.
We do quite a bit in Europe. We do quite a bit on project-based in Asia, Middle East.
Yep.
In fact, we just went on the trade mission with the International Trade Center to the Middle East. Okay. And have some follow-on work in Qatar coming up.
Jeff, how about you? Importance of exports to you?
They help balance out our overall business portfolio. We do more business in Europe than we do in Asia, but 2007 was actually, for us, stronger than 2008. Things started trailing off a little bit in 2008 for us, again, because of the currency.
I want to put up the other graphic about the top 10, too, those countries that were the top 10 countries that for exporting partners for Maine. 1 was Canada, 2 Malaysia, 3 Saudi Arabia, 4 South Korea, 5 China, and then they go down from there. Any surprises there? I mean, I was a little surprised. Obviously, Canada. We obviously know that's our #1 trading partner. But others, Malaysia, and talk about the Middle East too. So what was going on? Why those markets?
Well, I think Canada just stays steady, particularly on the natural resource products. Malaysia actually has been consistent over the last 8 years because it's a large semiconductor destination. That's almost exclusively electronics and semiconductors. Saudi Arabia, actually, this was kind of a first of it popping up in our top 10, and a lot of that were both metal products and motorized vehicles.
New markets that you've been, new trends and new markets for you guys?
Well, traditionally it's been Europe because they do a lot of business like we do here in the U.S., but we're doing more and more project-based, I would call it, in Asia, in the Middle East, where they're coming up with these large commercial and I want to say municipal, but government-sponsored projects that are being built out. So that's where a lot of it has come from for us.
Good. How about you? Any new markets that are emerging for you?
Well, we did the Gulf Food Show this year. We do the Brussels show every year, and we've attracted some pretty good interest, particularly for Maine lobster, the last couple of years. We've also done some business in the Japanese market on Maine shrimp. But there's a lot of interest in what we have.
Good.
And it's just making the deals work.
Yeah, it's always about the deal, eventually. And talking about that, how important are trade missions to making those contacts to eventually get the deal? You've been involved in them, so Peter and Jeff, talk about your experience with that.
At Aon & Ewan Associates, we're involved with 8 different Maine firms, and they've all been on these trade missions and have expanded their reach geographically around the world. And in fact, that's how I first started doing that, was going on a trade mission to kind of learn and help get the lay of the background, and the different gold key meetings that they set up for you are very good in helping you establish relationships with people overseas.
Okay. How about you as well? Those important to you?
Yeah, they're very important to us, particularly in a launching pad. We've always used Maine World Trade to kind of introduce us to some of these new markets, and then they also give us a bridge between where we are and the different organizations that we have to talk to in order to get through the regulatory processes and the inspection processes. So it's been very helpful for us as well.
That's good. We've got to wrap it. I'm going to ask one final question. What are the obstacles, and especially with our business export partners here, what are the obstacles you're facing during exports, and what do we need to do to or what can we do to ease some of those obstacles?
Well, one of the obstacles is foreign receivables aren't, a lot of the banks are not letting us borrow against those. Some of the local banks are doing a better job at it because they're using our creditworthiness instead of the customer's creditworthiness.
Much the same. I mean, every year it's different, but this year it's particularly credit and creditworthiness of the customers, whether they have credit insurance, whether they are able to put up LCs, the amount of inventory they carry. In our business, we like to ship full container loads of product, and a full container load of lobster is hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're now finding people don't want to put that kind of money up.
Right. Thank you all for being here. We're out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. But definitely it's an important subject, and one I think that I was surprised to learn more about, and I'm glad we're out there, and I'm glad the Maine International Trade Center is out there helping to open up these markets.
Thanks for
Appreciate it. Great.
Thank you.
To learn more about export opportunities and upcoming trade missions, go to the Maine International Trade Center website at mitc.com. We went out and about with Maine Biz to hear what businesses just like yours are saying. That's coming up. Stick around.
Maine Biz Sunday is made possible in part by funding provided by the Finance Authority of Maine and the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development.